Hi beautiful souls, this is Sadhana and welcome to my channel. I feel like I haven't done a tarot video for ages. I'm going to start today with a deck combo video and I have a whole bunch planned, so stay tuned to my channel over the next week or so and there should be a bunch of new ones for you to look at. We're going to start with the John Bauer. This is a really beautiful deck. I have kept it as a tarot deck. I've seen quite a few people on Facebook and YouTube that have actually cut off the borders and turned this into an oracle deck, which I totally understand, because if you are reading straight up Rider-Waite-Smith, it can be a tricky deck to navigate. There's the Fool card. It's a really, really pretty deck. It's got a nice combination of light cards and darker cards. So it's got that sense of yeah, mystery and lightness. And yeah, so this is a curated deck, a collection of art of John Bauer, and some of the cards are, you just have to read them intuitively because they have nothing to do with the Rider-Waite-Smith system, or it's a big stretch. So for me, it's just easier to read the whole deck intuitively, and so that's what I do. And so for the combo video today, we are going to use any idea. I'd love to know what you use for this one. We're going to use one of Colette Baron-Reid's decks. So this is the Enchanted Map. And the reason that I'm using this deck has a lot to do with the color and also the mood of the deck, the energy of the deck. I find they work really nicely together. And for the most part, I've had some really good readings. This is not a deck that I use very often. And it was great I had a whole bunch of oracle decks out. And initially I was going to use, for today, the video, my new Arthur Rackham Oracle, the one from Etsy, the super expensive one. But I don't know, it's just a little bit busy and it does look good. But this is, I think this is better, way better. And so we have two mass market decks. So, you know, it's a little more affordable, right? All right, so let's put that one there. Great. Yeah, so let's see what we've got here. Home. And this is perfect. I don't have my little chopstick. I should go get my chopstick. We are in the forest here, right? There's this real sense of being in, you know, in mystery. And what an awesome card to pull, because this is going to look great with the John Bauer. Okay, so here we have the Eight of Wands. And this looks completely different than an Eight of Wands in a Rider-Waite-Smith. So we have a princess, and I don't know the stories that these cards were used for. So I do read this just, you know, as I'm seeing the picture. So there's a whole, looks a bit like Gulliver's Travels, actually. So we have these little people on the back of this giant, and it looks like they're flying through the sky, and the sky is all cloudy and it's kind of mysterious. So, you know, the question is, what is home and what does home represent? And for me, one of the first things that comes up, because I'm a yoga teacher, I always kind of go to the chakras, and home is about the sense of safety and security in the root chakra. And so maybe that is part of the question that's come up. And so we need to kind of look at that, the safety and the stability and the security and what is going on home at this time. And here we have Three of Pentacles. So Three of Pentacles, you know, you could read this one Rider-Waite-Smith, but here we have the little princess standing in, or not necessarily princess, but the young girl in front of the queen here. And then we have three figures in the background, and we have kind of an ominous picture in the back. So, you know, to me, this looks a little bit like, you know, we're not feeling like we are at home. Let's have a look at the colors, right? So it's a beautiful kind of combination and totally doable as far as, you know, matching these two decks together. I don't want to spend too much time doing readings today because I'd rather show you a whole bunch of deck combinations. Here we have Magical Map Shifter. So this looks a bit like a magician card, and there's a lot of items that are up within this circle of energy here. She is blindfolded, so she's working this magic intuitively. And we need to kind of look at the energy of the word map. Oh, okay, so the Seven of Cups in this deck is fairly ominous. Again, doesn't look like a Rider-Waite-Smith kind of image. So we have the hag here that is being chased. To me, this looks more like a Nine of Swords in the Rider-Waite-Smith system. And then down here, we have a little person kind of cowering in the corner. So what's coming up for me now is the word shift, and looking at the energy of the circle, looking at the energy of the magic, and knowing that in every single moment we all have the power to initiate change. We just need to dig deep and, you know, use our own resources, use the resources that are available to us to begin to make change. And often when we're feeling in this kind of mood of despair and darkness and danger, and we're scared to death and we don't know what the next step is going to look like, we don't tend to perform our best. And so this is a card very much a reminder of, you know, you need to kind of dig a little deeper and act, and not just sit back and cower in fear like the little person is doing in the corner here. I said I wasn't going to do readings, but here we go. And then we have the Six of Coins. So to me, this looks like a consultation. Again, we're getting some advice on how to act and how to move through this situation. Peaks of joy. It's funny, we were talking about that this week. You know, it's something that so what is the opposite of joy for you? Okay, so really kind of different energy in this reading. Do you see the lightness and how the light from this deck is kind of reflected in this deck? We can also have a look. This is a great deck for using if you read with directions as well too. And here we have this kind of figure here looking towards this one. What I was saying before was I asked you what is the opposite of joy? And to remember that when we are in a moment of, when things are really happy, when things are going really, really well, to do our best to acknowledge that and be in the joyfulness, but at the same time, not to, you know, don't be too manic about it. You need to understand, we need to understand that on the other side of joy is whatever the opposite is that you chose, and that it's right there with us, and it's all part of the same experience. So we want to keep these peaks, you know, we don't want to be living our life, you know, up and down, these huge peaks and valleys. And so for me, this card is a reminder, yeah, celebrate the joy, but at the same time, just kind of, you know, reel it in a little bit and be a little more, you know, I don't know, maybe just too much of a yoga teacher, but be a little more zen about the joyfulness, because it's like that Wheel of Fortune card. You know, you can be on the top, you can be on the bottom, and it's important to be okay no matter where you are. And where we are here is at the end of a cycle. You know, so things have obviously gone well, and you have come full turn, full cycle, and hence the joyfulness. And the joyfulness is looking towards here, the Two of Pentacles. So there's obviously a new decision that needs to be made, and it may, you know, these are kind of dark looking figures here. So yeah, so we're kind of at the end of something that's been very, very positive, and now there is a decision that has to be made, perhaps about your business or your family or your home. So that is the Enchanted Map by Colette Baron-Reid with the beautiful artwork by Jenna Della Grottaglia. And then we have the Lo Scarabeo John Bauer deck. The next deck that I want to talk about is the Hedwig Botanical by Cielo Thompson. This is her newest deck. Her other two decks are the Scrying Ink Lenormand and the Linestrider Tarot. This Oracle deck is super versatile, and it works really well with lots of tarot decks as well as Lenormand decks. It seems to bring out something, it has a lot of white space in it, just like the Linestrider, and the keywords, the colors, the white space around each of the flowers or the plants really gives a nice addition to any reading. If you're not familiar with this deck, one of my favorite parts in the guidebook at the back, she has recipes, and it's just really, really well done. I have not found a pouch for this deck yet, so it's still living in this huge box. It would be so nice if these companies would make, you know, nice small boxes and then somehow figure a way to package the large. I really do like the large guidebooks. It's just that I don't tend to use those big boxes once I find another home for the deck. Yeah. So Hedge Witch. I'm going to pair a couple of different tarot decks with the Hedge Witch. If you haven't seen it, just let me show you. So like I said, lots of white space, and it's like, you know, a little bit of the floral or the berries are highlighted on each card. The keywords are in the large font, and then we have the name of the plant in English and then in Latin for each of the cards. So yeah, it's a really, really nice oracle deck. One of the tarot decks that I've had a hard time finding a pair for is the Alice Tarot. I wish that there was a botanical deck or another deck that focused on the roses. One of my favorite parts from the Alice stories is in Through the Looking Glass, when Alice goes into the garden. So after she steps through the window, if you're familiar with the stories, sorry, not the window, the glass, the mirror. After she steps through the mirror, she's in a house for a little while, and then she goes out into a garden. And in my imagination, in my mind, it's just a really, really pretty scene. So we have that garden scene. And then in the first book, we also have the, of course, the croquet game, and there's a lot of time that's spent outdoors in Alice. And we have a lot of roses and things there. So a floral deck just works with Alice. That's all I'm saying. So this is the Bubba Studios Alice deck. Okay. The bags look really nice together with the gold, or the yellows. So in the Hedge Witch, we have service, garlic. And I'm not going to refer to the guidebooks at all. I do know quite a bit about the stories. So with the Alice Tarots, I have a couple of them. I tend to read a combination of both the situation from the story as well as the, the Rider-Waite-Smith. Most of the Alice Tarots are pretty straight up Rider-Waite-Smith, but you have that option of adding the energy of the story as well too. So this is really an interesting reading. So we have two major cards. So let's just make a note of that. And then we have service, which is a pretty big word. So there looks like there is, an event or something that's coming up for you where you are going to have to step forward and maybe do something a little more selfless. And if that wasn't what you were planning for this next thing that's coming up to be, to me, that's kind of what it looks like. So the Chariot here, we're on the train in the second story, and in Through the Looking Glass, when Alice moves from a square to a square on the chessboard, in the book, there's like this ... There's a transition. And so cleverly, in most of the Alice decks, those transitions are depicted by a card of movement. And so here we have the Chariot. So this is really a reading very much about stepping forward and action and embracing and taking charge of whatever this is that's coming up for you. Whatever this, it looks to me like some kind of an event or an opportunity. But can you see why I've paired these two decks together? They look really nice. Okay, and then we have the King of Coins. who's looking in toward the oracle card, and Brighton. Look at the yellows and the yellows. You know, when that shows up and you, it's just really nice. Okay, so we have the 5 of Wands here and the hedgehogs. So this is part of the croquet game, and these poor hedgehogs are used as the balls in the croquet game. It's just kind of a wicked picture. But anyway, so we have the 5 of Wands. The hedgehogs are quarreling, and the King of Coins is kind of looking towards this situation. So it looks like we need to make light. And, you know, sometimes when things are challenging, we tend to make a really big deal of the situation. And perhaps this is a time to not take that so seriously. We have adaptation, 7 of Swords. So this is very much who stole the cookie from the cookie jar. So the knight here, the knave, has stolen the tarts. So this is just before the court scene in the first book. And then we have the 10 of Cups, and we have a scene at the tea party here. So if we're reading past, present, future, you know, whatever we're doing here, we're moving toward in a positive direction for sure, but there's some kind of a change that needs to happen before we're going to kind of get to this card of fulfillment. And yeah. So really interesting how the blackberries, do you remember what flavor the tarts are in? I don't know if we know the flavor from the book, but I can just imagine that those were actually blackberry tarts, and we've pulled the blackberry card. So the blackberry too, you know, the brambles, it's not a challenging berry to harvest, right? You get scratched up, you need to wear long sleeves and pants that you're not going to ruin, and all the prickles. And so this just kind of works for me. Let's do one more. And like I said, the hedge witch works really well with many, many decks. So we have Sacred, Hawthorn, and we have the Lovers and the 6 of Swords. So if we were doing a sequential reading, whatever was brewing in the last card, I know it was the 5 of Wands, not the 5 of Swords, but something was brewing, and now, you know, it is time to move forward. And it's kind of interesting how if you are going to do multiple 3-card readings with the same person, you can kind of tell a story from 3-card reading to 3-card reading. And this looks pretty sweet. In this deck, we have the Walrus and the Carpenter on the Lovers card, and I do believe there is an alternate Lovers card with this deck, but I really like this poem, and I think it's a pretty sweet, special part of the Through the Looking Glass story. So I kept this kind of odd Lovers card in here. But the sacredness, we've got red, I don't know, it just works really well. So whatever this is about for you, you know, moving forward and kind of leaving the battle behind, leaving whatever that challenging moment was behind, can be hard. You have to be brave. The whole Suit of Swords is about being courageous. And, you know, you need to trust that moving forward, you know, you have made the right decision, and this is a very auspicious kind of a card, and you're going to move into right relationship by leaving and moving in a new direction. So yeah, so that is the Bubba Studios Alice deck with Ciolo Thompson's Hedge Witch. The tarot deck that we're going to use next is one that I've been working with for a while. It's been on my altar for a few months. This, of course, is the Naked Heart Tarot, and it's a pretty sweet deck. I have kept the extra card in, the Naked Heart, which I tend to pull quite frequently. Yeah, beautiful cardstock. And like the Hedge Witch, there is a lot of white space in this deck. So it gives a lot of breathing room to, you know, just pull the different cards together in a reading. You know what I mean? It's like nothing, the cards don't overtake each other, and there's a sense of clarity and spaciousness. That's a good word. Okay. So let's do that. And then I shuffled the Hedge Witch. We'll put the Hedge Witch here. And the Naked Heart, I've pulled 4 oracle decks. So this is probably what all we'll do for this video is the Naked Heart with 4 different oracles. And so we'll start with the Hedge Witch, and we'll do just a couple cards for each oracle. So we have Subdue, which is Solal. I don't think I've ever actually seen Solal in bloom, in flower. It is in an abundance around here. It's a plant that I'm very, very familiar with. So here we have a lot of white space, both on the oracle deck and the tarot deck. So it gives you an opportunity to really, I don't know, to breathe, and they just work beautifully together. Here we have mostly an animal-based deck, and then the plants just really kind of are a natural, they just work really well with it. So we have the Ace of Wands and the Star, and we have Subdue. So this is really interesting combination because we are moving forward. You know, there's an opportunity there. We're at the pure essence of the energy of Wands here. And the tendency with the Wands is to act kind of impulsively and quickly and with that fire energy. And there is a very strong message here just to kind of dial it back just a little bit. Go ahead for sure with whatever this is, but maybe just don't be too impulsive with it, and think things through as you step forward. Let's do one more with this deck because you've seen lots of cards from this deck, but I just wanted to show it with Jillian's deck because they work really, really well together. And here's an example, right? So we have a little bit of yellow, and it's really nice how this happens. We have the Chariot, the Two of Swords, and Caution. The Two of Swords for me is not so much about indecision, but it's about taking a moment to really kind of turn inward and contemplate, you know, before you act, before you step forward, because the Chariot really is about moving forward. But there's a sense of, much like the previous pair of cards, you don't want to be charging ahead full speed. You want to kind of turn inward, make sure that the decision that you are making feels like it is not only a balanced decision, but, you know, for you at this particular moment and this particular time is the right one. Interesting. And today it looks like the theme is, you know, the readings are kind of working in a sequence, which is kind of cool. So the next oracle deck is Shamanic Healing. Many of you will be familiar with this one. It's been around for a while. This is by Michelle Motuzis. And the reason this deck works really well is because, you know, the colors are dark. And so to have a darker deck with all the white space works. Oops, let's turn those over. Oh, what have I done? There we go. If you haven't seen this deck, it's really pretty. It looks like chalkboard art. And for me, this is not so much a shamanic deck. It's a nature-based deck, which is what shamanism is, really. Okay, so for the first card we have, isn't that funny? That's the one that was there already and then shuffled, and there it is again. So we have masculine energy. So we have the Sun. So here we're moving to, this is a time of action, right? So the sun, the solar energy is about the right side of the body. It is about moving forward. And what are we moving forward? We're moving away from the masculine energy. We're leaving something behind, something that we might have worked. We might have put a lot of energy into something, and now it is time. It probably wasn't working out, so it is time to move in another direction. At least that's what's coming up for me. Not necessarily moving away from a man, but moving away from something that you put a lot of energy into. And this is going to bring everything into right relationship. So the Justice card for me is the Karma card. It's about, it's just what I said, right? It's about bringing things into balance, and for you to, yeah. And even though the bear is moving over to this side of the reading, and the sun is in the center of the reading, and often I always say, you know, the first card you pull is the most important. But when I do 3-card readings like this, it's really important to kind of weave and to, you know, to revisit and make this a whole story. So yes, I definitely work with direction, but it is, you know, this is it's a very unified reading, and so I would not just purely focus on the fact that the 8 of Cups is moving this way in the reading. So yeah, so this works really well, having the darker colors, but also the fact that this is a nature-based deck works really well because we have another nature-based deck here. So this is growth, and I hope you can see. Maybe let's just zoom in a little bit here, and I'll move the tarot deck over. So we have the Hermit. So what is the Hermit about? It's about taking time for yourself to, you know, to move inward so that you can, you know, move in a new direction, so that you can grow. And that works perfectly. Okay. So here we have Father of Swords. So we have fire and we have air. So this particular king is the combination of fire and air. So we need to be really careful with the Father of Swords, because the Father of Swords is can be really, really sharp and, you know, very judgy, and, you know, it's not the kind of, you don't want to be playing games with the Father of Swords. So if this represents the querent, and this is the kind of energy of the querent, this is not going to be comfortable, right? This is not the kind of person or the kind of energy that's going to be comfortable with taking a time out and going to a retreat, or, you know, turning inwards. And it's almost like, oh, what do I want to say? It feels like that, I'm going to say you, because you're looking at this reading and you've come to this particular video at this particular time. If you really want to change, if you really want to move forward, if you really want to go in a new direction, and this represents your personality, the way that, you know, you are kind of living with life at this time, this is going to be a huge shift for you. And it's, yeah, you're going to need to take time to contemplate it, but it's a completely different direction for you. And so the Father of Swords, here we can use direction, needs to move away and kind of embrace the energy of the growth and the Hermit. Okay, one more. Unlimited possibilities. 2 of Pentacles. Okay. And the Magician. So here's another example where we have, you know, beautiful color. The colors work together, and I love this Magician card. I don't know if you've ever thought of this, but this reminds me a little bit of Shrek. you know, Shrek peering through a window, or I forget the female, what was her name? Anyway, to me it looks a bit like that. So these two cards work really well together. We have unlimited possibilities with the Magician. And whatever you are creating at this time, whatever is coming forward, the Two of Pentacles here is about, in this card, about timing, but also about being with the flow, right? The sand can be at the top, the sand can be at the bottom of the hourglass. And we need to, you know, how can I say this, right? You got to kind of go with the flow. And if you need to turn the hourglass upside down and have another go at it, then go at it, right? It's very, very optimistic reading. So the other deck, did I say 4? What are we at? That was 2 decks. The next deck that I'm going to place in the middle here is called Power Animals, and it's not a deck that I've seen on YouTube. I don't know, ever I've seen it. This is by Regula Meyer and Karen Lurs. And you wouldn't, at least I wouldn't think, to pair an animal deck with an animal deck. Not that the Naked Heart is all animals, but there's a lot of animals in the Naked Heart. So, and the Power Animals, here I'll just show you the box in case you haven't seen it. This is Power Animals. Maybe that was too quick. There you go. This is the only other deck I have from this publisher is the Vision Quest Tarot. Yeah, I don't have a lot of decks from AGM. Okay. And I think you're going to like this one here. Let's see if we can squeeze it in. Might have to adjust the camera again. So again, we're going to have 2 decks that have a lot of white space. And they look really, really pretty together. And this is a relatively inexpensive deck, which is nice. However, if you're the kind of person that doesn't like all these words on your oracle cards, you know, this deck isn't going to work for you. I am reading upside down, so I'm going to turn the oracle card over to kind of get a feeling. Ooh. Okay, so the camel obviously is moving in. The eagle and the camel are both moving in this direction. They're moving towards something that's quite uncomfortable, or something perhaps that hasn't been dealt with. For me, the Three of Swords often comes up when you are processing something, it often comes up when something is not completely processed. So perhaps you had a difficult relationship, or you haven't dealt with the death of your mother, or something. You didn't take time to grieve. You didn't take time to really embrace all of the emotions that are represented in the Three of Swords. And for me, it's really interesting that the Three of Swords, we always go to the emotion of the Three of Swords. When the Suit of Swords is about the mind, it's about thinking, it's about language. And why does this card seem to represent the heart? I mean, other than, of course, there's a heart on it. But perhaps, and, you know, I always give this card due consideration and not just, you know, quickly, oh yeah, something sad is arising. Just have a sip of water here. Where I'm going with this is the reason you didn't process the grief, the reason you didn't process the difficult situation is because you dealt with it intellectually, and you didn't deal with the heart. You didn't deal with the emotions. And so that is often one of the things that arises for me. And here we have the Ten of Wands, right? So this is about burdens. This is about burnout. It's about exhaustion. And the eagle messages, the eagle will elevate you into your mental power. He will kindle the spirituality within yourself. So again, we kind of have this paradox here because we're talking about mental power and spirituality. So we do have that kind of theme running through the Suit of Swords on, you know, it's a subcurrent of the Suit of Swords. So air representing mental power and spirituality as well too. So really, whatever is coming up for you, please take your time to go back and step into whatever that was painful for you. And the reason that this is coming up again is because you're kind of at this vulnerable point in time. You have been carrying way too much, and it's time to take a load off. And the way that you're going to take the load off is kind of dealing with this particular undercurrent. Okay. Again, with this deck, it's really nice. You've got a lot of the animals moving to one side of the card or the other. So here, the Mother of Cups and the raccoon are both moving to the future, if you will, or to the right side of the card. And then we have the Six of Pentacles, which is these beautiful, I believe they're betta fish, swimming, you know, in a circular direction. So for me, in doing this reading, and look at this, we have the blue, it's just works really well. I would really kind of look at these two energies and how they're moving kind of into this. There's a beautiful kind of flow here. We have two water animals here. So even though we have the earth suit and the water suit, we do have fish represented here. So those are all, you know, considerations for me when I would do this reading. And remember too that the Mother of Cups is, you know, water. So really, really important. And, you know, just like some of the other decks we had, we've got kind of a sequential theme going on here. And let's just see what this badger, did I say raccoon? It's badger. The badger will advise you to fight back. So not to be a pushover. Kind of an interesting, interesting pairing of cards. Let's do one more, the spider. Love pretty much all the spider cards on every single deck. The metaphor of the web is just so amazing. So we have the Tower and the Six of Swords. So if we're looking just at these two cards, you know, this is about change. This is about something you knew was coming. And so it's time to, you know, embrace that. And the spider says, the spider will reveal your fate to you. So how perfect is that? And again, really nice colorations. So the last deck, which I believe I have used before in these deck combo videos, is Soul Trees. Relatively new to my collection. I believe I saw this deck on sorry, I can't remember. There are a lot of tarot tubers out there that have made some amazing videos on deck combos. So if you're, you know, if you like to do this as well too, make sure you check out that tarot tag. It was started by Amber in Wonderland, and since she started that tag about a year ago, there's been a lot of videos that have been created. Soul Trees was created by Alison Williams Yee. And if you were to ask me what is the most perfect packaging, I don't know, indie deck that I have, I know a lot of people are going to mention like Moonchild, or I don't know, there's a couple of pretty high, the one that just came out, I'm drawing, it'll come to me later. There's a lot of very well done indie decks out there. This one, however, is for me one of the very, very best. This box, it has a kind of a silky feel to it. It is so well made. The quality of the box. So this is a box that is going to, you know, I'm going to have as long as I have the cards. And it's just, I don't know, I don't have any other boxes like this for decks. And this is this is an indie deck. And the card quality, the cardstock quality it's just perfect for me. It's easy to shuffle, and it's got this really nice feel to it. Yeah. So big shout out for Soul Trees on the quality, as well, of course, as the actual deck. So here we have Freedom. And the reason that I like this deck with the Naked Heart is because of the color. So again, we have, the energy of nature. This deck is the energy of nature. But what Soul Trees does is it adds a splash of color to this very white deck. And it works really, really well. So here we have Freedom, 9 of Pentacles, and 10 of Pentacles. So that's pretty beautiful, hey? Right? Acknowledging that, you've put in your work, you've done all this work that you have done, this is what you're creating, and maybe this is why you've worked so hard, because this was your ultimate goal. So that's really beautiful. And then this deck must be upside down. We have Assurance. This is a deck for sure that I read intuitively. I believe there is a little tiny chart with it. Yeah, so there's a little tiny white book. And just for your information, I'm going to see. I don't even think. Oh yeah, there is. And the nice thing too is it's in alphabetical order. So, sorry, I'll turn it over. Right, so we have all the A cards here, and there's a little space, and then you've got the B cards. And so for Assurance, she says, a supportive reminder, all is well. And we have the Sage, which is the Hermit card. And the Mother of Wands. One of the nice things about this deck too, I know a few deck creators do it, is you have, you've got the fire symbol here, but you've also got water. Sorry, the recording stopped. I was saying you have the fire symbol and then water. So you've got, water. So all of the queens, all of the mothers have this energy of cups. And then this is the fire queen, the fire mother. So Mother, the assurance is coming from Mother. And before I turned over this card, the message I was getting was like, it's okay to go back to school. You have been through a lot. This is crazy. This reading is so loud and clear to me. You have been through a lot, and it's a huge decision to stop working. It's a huge decision to go back to school and to recreate yourself. That is what I'm picking up here. And you know what? Your mom is going to be okay with that. Okay, totally intuitive out there message, but that's what came down the pipe. Oh, look at this pretty purple card. Create. 4 of Pentacles. And the Moon. So this is kind of an odd reading, hey? Really odd reading. We can look at the energy of abundance here, but of course the negative side of the abundance and the accumulation of all of this stuff is that, you're not looking at the big picture, and you're kind of focused on the stuff as opposed to what you can do with all of this stuff. And with the Moon card, for me, This came up earlier today in another combination, was that it's really important to, when the moon card comes up, to allow those messages that you have been receiving, those subconscious messages, those little kind of flickers of intuition that you have been receiving when you first wake up in the morning, to start taking those messages seriously. This is an invitation for you. And here we have another example. I'm going to build on the last 3 card reading, is to move in a different direction. You've been really, really focused on your security, it seems like, right? Very focused on kind of that fight or flight and the survival, and there's been something that you've had to prove, and that's why I want to go back to this previous reading. This is so cool. I love it when this happens. So you have been in the back of your mind thinking about going back to school. Okay? And then we get, sorry, I had to pause, move the camera. My memory card was full, which is a pretty funny metaphor. But what I know, I was commenting on the connection of the readings, and, you know, looking to those subtle messages that we tend to ignore a lot of the time. We often pay attention to the monkey mind, the mind that is going a mile a minute, instead of really listening to those messages that kind of come out of the blue, especially the ones when we're just kind of waking up in the morning. We're in that kind of liminal space. So those messages are really important, because I know I was talking about a shift and kind of moving away from this survival mode into something, you know, a little more elegant, really, right? A little more, and a little more true to yourself too. It feels like this was definitely, it might have been needed for your survival, but it wasn't part of your dharma. It was not, you were not on path. And so, you know, listening to these messages, you're about to get back on path. So those are the 4 decks that I pulled to kind of highlight and to feature and to kind of really draw out the beauty of the Naked Heart Tarot. And I think they all work really well in different ways. And yeah. And I would use the different oracle cards. I know some people like to use a whole bunch of decks at the same time. I don't really like to do that. I really like to, like 2 decks is fine, because then you're getting a lot of energy kind of playing off each other. And so for me, I really prefer just to have a couple of decks in the reading, regardless of whether I'm doing a 3 card or a larger spread. So yeah, this is really cool. We've kind of got these darker colors here, and these monochrome colors, and the brown here. Anyway, I just think it's really, really a beautiful combination. So thank you for watching today. I always really appreciate your comments and questions, and recently there's been a lot of requests in some of the comments, and I will get to all of those over time. And some of the requests have been really lofty, so they're very challenging, and I like to do preparation for my videos, so I will let you know. And if you've ever made a request and I haven't gotten to it, I will always come back to that comment and let you know that I've uploaded a video and answered your question. So thank you very much. Stay well, my friends. Namaste.